Hi, it's Hannah here from Physic, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about ADHD, autism, and auDHD, and how that relates to perimenopause, because obviously I work with lots and lots of perimenopausal ladies, and I'm seeing increasing numbers being diagnosed with one or more of those conditions. So ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Autism is used to describe a spectrum of different autistic disorders. It's kind of complicated, but we're all thought to be somewhere on that spectrum to a greater or lesser extent. And then there's auDHD, which is where a person has autism and ADHD at the same time, which is quite an interesting combination because they can have a kind of opposing opposites. So there's lots of ladies who reach perimenopause, and I think we're kind of forced to take a good long hard look at ourselves because our bodies are doing all kinds of strange things that we don't really understand, and our minds can do the same, and that can sometimes lead us down a path to investigating whether or not we have one of these conditions. Certainly the ladies that I've met fall into one of two camps. So there's one group of ladies where they have a new diagnosis, and initially they find it helpful, and then it snowballs from there, and they can't do this and they can't do that because they've got the ADHD or the auDHD, and it's a very disempowering space to be in. And I can understand their point of view, but I don't think it's terribly helpful when they become their diagnosis and their entire life, the entire conversation, every relationship is seen in that context. Likewise, I see another group of ladies who have the diagnosis and it takes a big weight off their shoulders because it's explained certain behaviours and certain traits that have gone on their entire lives that they've never really understood, or perhaps not been very comfortable with, or perhaps their friends, family, teachers, colleagues have not understood, and it's like a light bulb goes on. And then they're able to understand themselves better, appreciate themselves better, and make any adjustments that might be helpful to them in terms of the way they live and work. So that's a good thing. I'm fairly sure that personally, if I were to go and get tested, I would be found to have ADHD. And I have thought about it, but I'm 47 now. And I have my quirks, I have my funny little ways, the same as everyone else does. I love myself for that. And I'm not entirely sure that for me personally, it would be particularly beneficial to have an ADHD diagnosis at this point, but we're all different. I do wonder if having a label in this context is helpful in general, or whether there's a more positive way we can look at it, in that can we not just love ourselves and appreciate ourselves exactly as we are, with all our funny little ways and our quirks and our funny traits? Do we need a label in order to enable us to do that? And that's a question that we all might answer differently. I think neurodiversity now is becoming such a big thing that eventually we'll all be told we're neurodiverse in some way or another, and it will probably become the norm, and it will go full circle. So rather than it being sort of abnormal at the moment, we will all be neurodiverse in one way or another. And there's a lot more to this than I've got time to explain right here, as you can probably imagine. So I think in perimenopause, these things do come up for us to look at, and the symptoms may be harder to live with as we have to navigate the hormone changes as well. So I think the question is, if you're thinking of going down this route of getting a diagnosis, A, what's motivating you to do that at this point? And B, if you were to be diagnosed with any of these conditions, do you think that ultimately will help you, or could it put you into a disempowered state where life becomes much harder than it is currently? So I would love to know how this lands with you. Feel free to comment below. And as always, if you need to get in touch and discuss anything, you're welcome to contact me via my website, which is at www.physichealth.uk. I'll see you again soon.